So here we are again, meeting in my kitchen, which is just a regular kitchen. And we have this nice little island, which is useful. And I think this is the 4th recipe I'm doing for my series, Old Farts in the Kitchen. Remembering that as I've been told by female associates about my age, not all old farts are male. There are female old farts as well. And I've been hearing from some young people who are not old farts under any circumstances or a stretch of the imagination, who also are kind of interested in being able to cook for themselves and may not have done much or any cooking in the past, but want to do it now. Maybe they've moved out of home, they're on their own for the first time, in college, in their first job, whatever, having their first apartment. And I'm trying to do some simple recipes. If I can do them, they're simple, for us old farts. At least that's where it started. But it turns out there may be people who also want to be able to do these same recipes, who are not suffering from the debilitating characteristics of getting old. Like arthritis, senior moments, forgetting where I put the milk. There we go. Anyway, so this is going to be an ice cream made for people who have problems with blood sugar, as most of these recipes are. Now, these are not vegan. They're not even actually keto, although they have elements of both. This is just a set of recipes that I've tried to find for myself, since I suffer from blood sugar issues. So I'm not able to have sugar, and I'm not able to have other carbs, grains, pasta, bread, and even ice cream that has sugar in it. So I've had to come up with some recipes of my own. Most of them are sort of a mixture of other people's recipes that I've changed around a bit for myself, and I'm going to share with you. So starting on this one, it's very, very simple. It only has basically 4 ingredients, and you don't have to do any cooking. First, we start with the cream. Now, I happen to like the flavor that comes from Trader Joe's cream, but you can use any heavy cream. It's actually, or whipping cream, just heavy cream, 16 ounces. And then I add to that, many people call for milk. Well, I happen to like half and half, and my diet recommendations, the diet I'm following, says don't have milk. But cream is fine, because it's the fat that gives you the energy, not the milk itself. So I use half and half, and you can use milk. Well, actually, you can use anything you want. But basically, ice cream is ice cream. And so here are 2 of them. And then for flavor, this is vanilla. I use Trader Joe's organic, alcohol-free, pure vanilla. They didn't have to take the alcohol out as far as I'm concerned, but they have. Anyway, I use 4 tablespoons of that. And I use a ½ cup of xylitol, which is a sugar substitute. And the body does not react to it. It comes from a plant. The body does not react to it the way it reacts to sugar. So I've been told. I mean, I'm no expert on any of these things. All I can do is find things that work for me. My last blood test and annual checkup showed that it was working, because all my cholesterols and blood pressures and everything had come down after a year following my diet. But everybody's body is different. Everybody's chemistry is different. Everyone's biology is different. So what works for me may not work for you. But here are some ideas that you could try out if you want to. So we've got the cream, we've got the vanilla, and we've got the sweetening. So, the preparation. We start with the cream. By the way, this makes about a quart. And a quart is 4 cups. Is it? 4 cups, yes, 1 quart, approximately. My ice cream maker, which is a Breville, is wonderful. It's also expensive. It's about $340, I think. But it has the freezer built into it, which means that you don't have to take the freezer bucket out, leave it in the freezer overnight so it gets really cold, as many of them do. Now, there's a Cuisinart that you do that also makes very good ice cream. And there are others like that, where you take the bucket out, you freeze it overnight, and you pour everything into it and put it into the machine, and then it moves from there. So what we do first is pour in the cream. So we have the 16 ounces of heavy whipping cream, or just heavy cream, in here, and we're going to add 4 tablespoons of the vanilla extract. Seems like a lot, but you actually really need it. Well, come up a little short. A few drops isn't going to make any difference. And then we whip this up with the Braun whipper, again, to get the to make it a little lighter, a little bit more volume, and more air bubbles in it. See, not a lot, because it raises it, because a lot of this will be knocked out by the paddle that goes around in the what do you call it, ice cream maker, the Breville. But this does make it lighter and smoother and easier to dish out. Okay, so we've whipped up the cream, and just before we go ahead to the rest of it, it occurred to me that not everyone will want to go out and spend a lot of money on an ice cream maker, but bought this little thing many years ago, and at least to experiment with, you could try making some of this ice cream in one of these things. It doesn't cost very much at all, and it also illustrates the fact that this is how many of these work. This has a stuff that freezes on the inside of it, stays very cold. You put it in the freezer overnight, put it in here. You pour your mixture in here, a lot less than I'm making now, obviously. You'd have to cut this down to at least 1/4. And then you just put the paddle in, put this little top on it. Or rather, you take this innards out of the freezer, obviously, put it in here, then pour your stuff in. And follow this, and you put this little handle on, and you give it a good turn. And then every 10 minutes, you put it in the freezer, let it freeze up again, turn it some more. So it's a little tedious. You can't go and read a book. You just go absolutely nuts. Anyway, it is possible to make ice cream with something as simple as this. In fact, some people have just put the mixture into a bowl and take a whisk or a fork or something, and every 10 minutes, after leaving the whole thing in the fridge, just keep whipping it up until it's finally ice cream. It's possible to do that. I'm too impatient. So I do it this way. So we've whipped this up, and when we get to this point, I put in a bit more of the 1/2 and 1/2, because it's supposed to make 4 cups altogether. Dip it in. And voila, that brings it up to the total amount of 1 quart. I find in my ice cream maker, the Breville, that I pour this in, and then there's often quite a bit more space. So I top up the difference using this. But before I do that, I put in the bulk of the sugar, because that takes up a certain amount of space in the churning canister. What do you suppose you call it? I'll call it a churning canister. Next step, putting it in the ice cream maker. So now we are at the point where we're going to pour the mixture in to the ice cream maker, and this is the Breville. It's a big solid thing. It doesn't walk off the table. You just take this thing off, and you don't take this out to do this, but I'll take it out to show you. It's a good tight fit. It's much lighter. It doesn't have the freezing stuff in it, because the freezing stuff is all around the inside here. And then these are the paddles. And so you just pop this in, push it well down, it in the paddle, make sure it locks in place, and then you just pour cream into the bucket. Sorry about that, I forgot the little spatula. And as you can see, it doesn't come all the way up. I don't know if you can see that or not, where you can see it from, but it doesn't. It doesn't come all the way up this center thing here. So, one step I forgot. I always put a couple squirts of stevia, liquid stevia in, as well as the xylitol. It just adds another type of sweetening and makes a very nice balance. So that's the stevia, and then we add in the xylitol. You don't want to get it all over the place. Then basically, you just put the top on, you turn on the power, and I always have it up to harder because it never gets that hard. And then you put it in the freezer for a few hours, and that brings it up to what you would expect from an ice cream. Now, because it has so much heavy cream in it, it never really gets that hard. But depending on how cold your freezer is, depends on how hard it will be. So then you just press the button, and it starts churning, as you can see. So, because it's not that high, we can actually make more than a quart. So I just put more, half and half in, until it comes about 1.5 inches from the top of the center spindle. And then basically I just close it up. It will let me know when it's done. It makes a funny little noise, a little music, so you can go read a book. So, I don't know if any of you could hear the little ting that this thing made when it finished over the sound of the churning going on, but it did. And so basically it's finished. And so, let's see, which way do I go? I go this way. Just turn it. We lift the top off. And I don't know how well you can see it in here, but it looks just beautiful down there. And okay, it's my favorite bit. Oh, it never tastes as good as it does when it comes straight out of the churner. Whoops, 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 whoops. Gotta stop talking and eat. Oh my, that's so good. So good. Okay, so we, with difficulty, lift this thing out. And we will then empty this into a container. You can use any container you want, but you can even use several small containers, actually, if you want to distribute it into smaller amounts. I use this one because it's very easy to get the scoop down into it. And the scoop I use is this one, because it, there we go, scoop. Because the ice cream stays very soft, and that makes it very easy to make it up into a nice ball. But you can use any kind of scoop you want. You can even, it's soft enough, you can even take a couple of tablespoons and make a nice little sort of egg-sized thing out of it. That's what they do in France. So the next thing I will do is scrape this out into this container. This is the messy part of the job. We have to scrape it out of here and into here. They actually provide a little paddle to do it, but I find that this, you can buy these heat-resistant rubbery spatulas in a package, and the small one, I had the bigger one before, now I use the small one, and it really gets in and around very nicely. But it is a bit messy, and this thing is really cold. So we just scrape this stuff out. Here, so it's melting already, goodness. And here we have our ice cream. Now, this is a little soft because I'm demonstrating. It took a little longer, so some of it even melted back again. But this will go in the freezer and freeze up to whatever hardness you want it to freeze up to. Never hard, but depending on the temperature of your freezer, which you can set, it will be from softish to hard, however you like it best. Now, you can always take this, and like with all vanilla ice cream, you can put chocolate sauce on it, nuts, a little whipped cream on top of that. You can put it on fruit. You can do all sorts of things. You can put it on your favorite pies if you get to eat pies. I don't. But it's a wonderful ice cream. Very simple ingredients, and very simple to make. Thanks. The ice cream, vanilla ice cream we just made. Well, I didn't just make it. We made it yesterday. Has had the overnight to harden up in the freezer. I say it never gets really hard, but it gets harder. And so now we can make a very typical dessert that is sugar-free. And take a nice dollop of the ice cream. Put it in there. That is so good. Now this is a sugar-free chocolate syrup. It's called La Sauce de Monin, M-O-N-I-N, and it has no sugar in it. And of course, it's hard to have vanilla ice cream without chocolate sauce on it. Now this softness is a kind of like the way they serve it in Italy and France. I love it. It seems to bring out more of the flavor, and then just a few nuts around it, walnuts in this case. Lovely looking dessert. Yes, the colder and harder ice cream gets, the less you can taste it. Sort of like when coffee gets really hard, you can't really taste it. And there are so many other things, of course, you can do with it. You can have it with fruit, with berries, on cakes, on different kinds of breads, have it on the crepes. It's just fabulous. Just a wonderful kind of an ice cream that goes with almost everything. That's what I love about vanilla, and why it is actually the most popular single flavor of ice cream in the world. Well, I hope this was useful to you, and I hope you go out and enjoy your own. Thank you.